in,
today.
electricity and.
She'd be so
Give
excited.
her a little fan, she's no problem, you put Wi-Fi password, I'm like.
Little heater.
Never gonna get that out of me.
$5:59. Boy, we got that closer than I thought. Hey, we're all carpooling now. Mark and I carpool today too.
We should pick up Jen on the way next
Yeah,
time.
you passed my.
Oh,
Might as
you're
well.
right, we do pass you, don't we? How rude of us.
I can stand at the corner here.
Well, if I'm driving, yeah, real quick. Jump right in. Jumps on the side of the road. We should try that, actually. Oh, gosh.
Oh, it is 6 o'clock. We're all ready. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Cog Heights Board of Education meeting for March 13th, 2024. It is 6 p.m. and we're meeting in the PDR room. Could the treasurer please call the roll?
Mrs. Decker,
Here.
Mrs. Etter,
Here.
Ms. Prowse,
Here.
Mr. Dobbins. Here. Mr. Suchak.
Here, 5 present, none absent. At this point, I'd like to, we have no one here, but certainly welcome the public, anyone who would be here to the meeting. I can't read this evening. Actually, I'm going to ask Mr. Dobbins to conduct the meeting from this point because I cannot see well enough to read the agenda off my laptop here. So, Mr. Dobbins?
I'll pick it up at item 1B, which is on behalf of the board, I'd like to welcome all students, staff, parents, and nurses and community members to tonight's Board of Education meeting. The board values and encourages public comment on education issues. Anyone having interest in the actions of the board may participate during the public comments portion of the meeting. Please identify yourself on the board sign-in sheet. A copy of the meeting agenda is available to review on our school district's website. Please silence your cell phone during the meeting and now join us in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I would ask that after the end of the Pledge of Allegiance, that we have a moment in silence in honor of Debbie Petrunia.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. We're moving on to agenda item number 2, and that would be a motion to approve this evening's agenda. May I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Mr. Soutraki moves.
I'll
Ms.
second.
Decker seconds. Mr. Evans, Mr. Muccio, any additions, changes, edits?
I pulled something out that was previously on the approval of a substitute custodian. That's for some further discussion, so I did remove that from the agenda.
Okay. But the, as it's presented, is what we're voting on, correct?
Correct.
Okay, great. If there's no other comments, let's move to a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Suchak,
Yes, aye.
Mrs. Decker,
Aye.
Mrs. Etter,
Aye.
Ms. Prowse.
Aye.
Mr. Dobbins.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. We talked previously about public comments. I don't see anyone in the audience this evening, so we'll move forward to item number 4, Treasurer's Business. Mr. Muccio.
Thank you, Mr. Dobbins. We have a few items tonight under the Treasurer's Consent Agenda. We have items 4A, 5A through 5B.
Okay, so may I have a motion to approve the Treasurer's Consent Agenda, please?
So moved.
Ms. Etter moves, and is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Prowse seconds. Mr. Muccio.
If we look at 5B, purchase orders over 5,000, we just have 2 tonight, and both are Mr. Matt Young's. So Matt, if you wanted to speak on Savas Learning Company, which is $9,957 and change, and then Great Minds, which is $7,691, but split between Title I grant funds, $7,000, and the $691 to general fund.
Yes, so for the first one, back in, it was 2017, we adopted a science curriculum that lasted 7 years. This is the last year of that 7-year contract with about approximately $48,000. This is a one-year state has approved in your elementary school. The same is gonna be coming for mathematics. And we know that there's discussion, and even Mr. Evans could talk more about it at another time. There are some proposed bills out there that would put together a social studies coalition that will determine exactly what social studies content will be taught in Ohio. So we can assume the same thing's happening with science. So this is just simply a one-year rollover. Single-year rollovers are more expensive than multi-year rollovers. But we felt that it was prudent to get these third consumable workbooks. Our staff's been using them for 7 years. It's a one-year rollover until we see what shakes out with the state of Ohio. The second is for third grade. If you recall last year, we adopted Wit and Wisdom as the knowledge-based curriculum for grades 1, 2, 4, and 5. Grade 3, they went at it alone. They wanted to develop their own curriculum, while the state of Ohio has now made that illegal. To develop your own curriculum, you have to purchase curriculum from a state-approved list. So this gets third grade in line with the other grades. That process has to happen for every school district in Ohio by the end of next school year. They have to have switched over to a science of reading approved curriculum. Somewhat controversial. There's some school districts suing the governor. There's some companies, whole language folks are suing Ohio. So there's all kinds of political stuff that's going to shake out, but we're pretty confident that our process is good no matter what shakes out. But those are those two adoptions.
I appreciate the background because I think it's important to get into the record that we as a district are making our way through some very turbulent times and that there is a price that's associated with that turbulence. And in this case, it bears, it's borne out in the matters that we're considering this evening in terms of the consumable items and the literacy program for third grade.
This is
Thank you, Mr.
a little bit more than about approved curriculums. This is about vendors. So there are certainly, the vendors who are not privy to the contracts are not happy. And there's a lot of school districts in the state that aren't necessarily on board with it as well. So I think that they can claim innocence as much as they want, but they knew that the lawsuits were going to come as soon as they went down this path. So, well, much to be seen yet as to how it shakes out. And these are the easy ones. Social studies will be a bloodbath when they start talking about social studies curriculum.
That's the policy piece, but we're dealing with the end user, paying the licensing fees and dealing with.
And actually, that's where the legislature's now stepped itself into. Then they used to be separated from that, but now the governor's taken on the role of not only talking about subject matter, but where you get that subject matter and who you get that subject matter from.
Mhm. As I recall, the Department of Education, the substantive pieces of it were, those responsibilities were moved underneath the governor's office.
Correct.
Very recently, and I believe there's a lawsuit that's challenging that.
Correct.
Um,
Lots of lawyers are busy in Columbus right now.
Yeah, it's full of fun and that.
We've got a really good process, and everything that we have adopted all the way back since 2014 is likely, at least in math, language arts, as well as science, to make a approved list. So our process is pretty sound, and it's rooted in research and best practices. So I'm happy with the process and how the decisions so far.
Thank you very much for that update, for that background.
If we look at item 5A, we just have 2 field trip new vendors. One is for the Nature Center at Shaker Lakes, and the other is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'm surprised we never had that vendor in our system, but it's going to be a fun field trip for that one. And those are the items I have for approval tonight under the Treasurer's Consent Agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Muccio, thank you, Mr. Young. Any other questions or comments for either person this evening? If not, we can move to a roll call vote.
Mrs. Zetter.
Aye.
Ms. Press.
Aye.
Mrs. Decker.
Aye.
Mr. Dobbins.
Aye.
Mr. Souchaki.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Moving on to agenda item number 7, Mr. Muccio.
Yes, so what we have here is recommended from our legal counsel, Mr. David Seed, and he recommends that we were to look at item 8A. He describes his process in that attachment. So what we're looking at would be tax year complaints, tax year 2023. And we have 5 resolutions, complaints that can be approved either in a single vote or separate votes. So the key is that the resolutions cannot be approved with unrelated items. So he recommends a tax complaint consent agenda as a separate item. So that's why we see this separate consent agenda. If we go back to it, if we click on the very first one, 7A, first of the 5, this is a resolution prepared by David Seed. And then we have a summary down below in the administrative content. If we were to click on that summary, I have highlighted at the bottom which one of the 5 this one is. And what we are seeing on that page, and this whole page is created by David Seed, it has the property owner, property address, parcel number, land use, the county fiscal officer, fair market value for each. Property owner is fair market value, same. Sale price, that's a difference between the two. Sale date, the Board of Education fair market value, which is the same as the sale price. And then we have the effective tax rate and what that potential gain of revenue would be coming out to the district. So if you add up the 40,000 at the top, 7,000, 8,000, 17,000, 37, we get roughly about 110,000 in total. So these resolutions, and I'll read the first one in full. It says, this would be titled Resolution Approving Filing of a Complaint Against Real Property. The property owner, 7750 Hub Parkway, owner LLC, parcel number 573-18-002. Property address of 7750 Hub Parkway, Valley View, tax year 2023. Basis for complaint, recent sale of property. Whereas the Board of Education elects to exercise its rights under Revised Code 5715.19 for the filing of a complaint against the evaluation of real property as to the referenced property, and whereas that the required written notice was sent by certified mail to the record owner of the aforementioned real property at least 7 calendar days prior to the adoption of this resolution. Now, therefore, be it resolved, Section 1, that the Board of Education authorizes filing of a complaint against the valuation of real property pursuant to Revised Code 5715.19A1D, challenging the determination of the total value or assessment of the property referenced above based upon a recent arm's length sale, transfer of the property, or other evidence that indicates that the total valuation or assessment is incorrect. Section 2, that it is found and determined that all formal actions of this Board of Education concerning and relating to the adoption of this resolution were adopted in an open meeting of this Board of Education, and that all deliberations of this Board of Education and of any of its committees that resulted in such formal actions were in meetings open to the public in compliance with all legal requirements, including Revised Code 121.22. And then I'll go through 7B, the owner, which is, the property owner is 4501 Willow Parkway. 7C, the property owner is 5800 Grant Avenue, Cuyahoga Heights.
First 3 are Cuyahoga Heights addresses, the second 2 are Valley View. The 4th and 5th are Valley View addresses.
4th one is 5505 Cloverleaf Parkway, Valley View. And 7E is going to be 4530-4540 East 71st Street, Cuyahoga Heights. And I would ask for those items be approved in the consent agenda.
Okay, so I have a motion to approve the agenda item number 7, which is the treasurer's consent agenda item, the consent agenda that contains tax complaints. May I have a motion for that, please?
So moved.
Ms. Decker moves, I'll second. Mr. Muccio, do you have anything additional that you'd like to share with us?
Just wanted to point out on the spreadsheet that we were looking at prior, that was created by David Seed, we're looking at only commercial and industrial property. Just wanted to point that out, no residential or agriculture.
Thank you, Mr. Muccio. Does anyone have any additional questions or comments for Mr. Muccio? If not, let's move to roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Decker?
Aye.
Mr. Dobbins?
Aye.
Mrs. Etter?
Aye.
Ms. Prowse?
Aye.
Mr. Suchak?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. We are on to agenda item number 10, treasurer's discussion comments.
Yes, a few items tonight. First one, 9A, levy info. So we have our levy information. This is the last board meeting before the election, which is going to be next week, Tuesday. So it's going to be a big day. So if anybody listening online is curious as to any information on the levy, please go here, 9A, to read just kind of, a breakdown and what this levy will fund. 9B, our levy issue number for the March 19th, 2024 election. We are issue number 22. 9C is a levy sample ballot. If you were to click on that, that's a ballot from what it's going to look like in Brooklyn Heights. There we have. Goes out of here. And then 9D, discussion, fiscal 23 audit exit conference. So our fiscal 23 audit is nearing completion, and the routine exit conference is scheduled for Wednesday, March 20th at 4:30 p.m. in the PDR, similar to where we had it last year. Yep. So that email will come from the Auditor of State's office, Megan, and Matt Goldman. They'll send that probably tomorrow, I want to say. And this is their meeting, so by law and revised code, we don't send out a public notice. This is, the meeting that they invite us to, essentially. And it should last about an hour approximately. 9E, we plan to hold, and this deals with our policy 8310 public records. We plan to hold our district records commission meeting Wednesday, March 20th, the same day, at 3:45 in the treasurer's office. So if we were to click on our policy that we have there, the first attachment, towards the end I have highlighted on the third page, just talks about kind of the purpose of having this meeting. It wouldn't last too long, so about 15 minutes or so, give or take. And then the second attachment is our schedule of records retention and disposition. So we would just go through and talk about, the policy and how it works with that schedule of records retention, disposition.
And if I'm reading our policy correctly, it looks as though the members of our commission would be the board president, treasurer, and superintendent?
Yes.
And that's the universe of people that you're expecting?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yep. I'm going to send out a meeting notice, so anyone interested, please feel free to attend. And the last item for discussion tonight, 9F, Suburban Health Consortium. So yesterday, March 12th, our district held our Health Cost Containment Committee meeting. 3 main points were discussed, as well as possible dissolving of Suburban Health Consortium. So my greatest fear is dissolving of the whole consortium, that everybody throws their hands up and it's a wonderful life. There was a run on the bank and everybody, leaves the consortium. That's not going to happen, but there's, the ever small chance that it could. We're just planning for the worst, but hoping for the best. The 3 main points that I discussed with the Health Cost Containment Committee were repricing by Anthem due to the withdrawal of Lakewood and North Royalton schools. And there's been a commitment by Anthem to ensure that we are not harmed financially by a reduction in enrollment. And there was, from what I heard, a clause in the contract that talked about a 10%, variance in enrollment could, enable repricing, but, Anthem is pretty committed to not harming financially any of the Suburban Health Consortium schools, so that's great news. Number 2 were reserves. I've been talking with the Board of Education for the past couple of months. Where the reserve balance is, it must increase at a minimum to ORC 9.833 or a maximum between 2 to 3 months worth of Suburban Health Consortium expenditures. So we're still looking at, just the reserve balances. That's going to be an ongoing over a number of years that we're going to be looking at it. And then number 3 was recalibration. So Suburban Health Consortium is discussing shifting to a method of annual rate increases that are primarily determined according to claims. In this approach, annual rate increases would be calculated to cover what a district pays, the premium, versus what are the district's claims. So your claims, all the expenses, and then your premium, the money generated, your revenues, matching them up. Are we overfunding the consortium? Are we underfunding the consortium? Right now, we are underfunding a little bit, from about 3%. But there are some schools that are underfunding the consortium by 30, 40, 50%, and even one at 70%. So this recalibration is essentially a new way of looking at doing business as a whole in the consortium. Instead of the one-size-fits-all, everybody gets the same rate increase, it's now going to be proportionate to where a district's claims are. So with this methodology, if there were to be a 13% increase, ours, if it were to be 13% across the board, we would take a 13% increase. However, if our claims and our revenue are closely aligned or even a little bit overfunding the consortium, we're not going to have a 13% increase. We're going to have a much smaller one, maybe 5%, somewhere in that ballpark. So this benefits us financially. Other districts in the Suburban Health Consortium, not so much, but it's going to be, 50+1 majority rule for the vote. And I think enough schools are moving in that direction for recalibration. And that's something I've been championing for quite some time with Suburban Health. So I think it's going to financially help our district and the whole consortium overall. And then I got some surprise news this morning. So this morning, Tom and myself got an email from South Euclid-Lyndhurst School District notifying us that they intend to withdraw from the Suburban Health Consortium effective April 1st, 2024. They had a special board meeting last evening where they passed that. So they are the third district withdrawing from the consortium. I know we were talking at the healthcare committee about schools that may be leaving. I hope I said South Euclid, if I was right, or maybe not. Just guessing, if that one, probably not.
I'll say yes.
But, it's surprising, but not a shock. Again, the biggest concern is going to be, are we going to be financially harmed from this move by Anthem? And Suburban Health Consortium leadership, namely Greg Marcus, treasurer over at Rocky River, he firmly believes that Anthem is committed to ensuring that there's no financial harm to remaining districts in Suburban Health Consortium. He also had an afternoon phone call with the team at Anthem and spoke with the president of the Ohio division, Jane Peterson, and sent an email out that Jane said, please know that we are committed, Anthem's committed to making this a smooth transition. So, again, it's our hope that we're not going to be financially harmed by any type of repricing, and we are looking at bringing in, districts to counter the ones that have left. So, and again, we talked a lot about, districts in different positions. The ones that are leaving, what are they doing? Are they going to another consortium? Well, we looked at the financials of other consortiums that are out there, and the Great Lakes one isn't doing the best financially, even compared to Suburban Health, which we know Suburban Health has their issues financially. We looked at a couple of others, but there's a lot there to go into a consortium, and they kind of all go along together. It's a risk shared pool that they have. Some schools go on their own as self-insured schools. If we look at the administrative content, scroll down a little bit there, I have two schools that was able to get their rates. The one at the top, Beechwood, their increases the past 2 years have been 16% and 10%. Hudson Schools has been 25% and 15%. So even schools that are on their own, can get into trouble. If a lot of their staff gets sick, claims rise. And then at that point, it's hard for them, if they're on their own, to be taken into a consortium, because the consortium is going to be like, you guys are too high risk. You're going to inflate all of our claims. We don't want to, have you come into the risk-sharing pool that we have. So that's the risk of a school going on their own, where they get in that trap, and it's hard for them to get into one. So just wanted to point that out, and, we're monitoring it, Tom and myself, and, it's one of our, it's on the front burner on the stove for us. So, and that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
That's plenty. Thank you very much, Mr. Muccio. I know you've been quite busy, and thank you for hosting that SHC collaboration meeting yesterday. That was very informative. Thank you. Unless there's any additional questions or comments from Mr. Muccio, we can move on to agenda item number 10, superintendent's business.
Okay, consent, I ask that the following items be approved on the consent agenda. 10A, updated miscellaneous pay rate schedule, and 11A, approve the employment of a long-term substitute for high school, middle school music for 23-24. I ask those two items be approved.
Okay, so can I have a motion to approve the superintendent's consent agenda?
So moved.
Mr. Sajaki moves, I'll second. Mr. Evans?
Just that miscellaneous pay rate, that's if in fact we did hire on a substitute custodian, you see that they would be at the substitute bus driver rate. And long-term sub, music is going to be a familiar face, Mr. Sokol. Doesn't want to work in the garden, and he was happy that we called him and come in and fill in for Grace Brown while she's on maternity leave. So a couple good things for us there. So I ask those items for approval.
Great, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Evans? If not, we can move to a roll call vote.
Mr. Souchaki?
Aye.
Mr. Devens?
Aye.
Mrs. Decker?
Aye.
Mrs. Etter?
Aye.
Ms. Prowse?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Moving on to item number 13, Mr. Evans.
Okay, a couple things. Senior citizens yesterday, a good crowd, good turnout. Mr. Souchaki was there, very well received, and I was quite honestly, they want names and contact information for our state legislators so they can send letters to our legislators asking them why that our school district is being treated so unfairly, and how can you be given vouchers away when you're not fully funding our local public schools. So really, it's always been a positive reception there, and it was way over. I mean, lots of heads nodding and familiar faces there. So that was a great time there. We had Inclusion Day last week. Mrs. Scotton really put a lot of work into Inclusion Day. I will forward the video to you that her and her students created. That was really neat. We used some grant money to buy T-shirts for all of our staff, and several of our students got T-shirts too. And took some pictures of the high school staff, the elementary staff. The kids signed banners. Mrs. Scotton kind of picked up on this. My niece is an intervention specialist in Columbus, and they've done this for many, many years, and her class actually produces the shirts. So Elena went down and visited a couple of years ago, and it's a very big unit. She's at Gahanna Lincoln, so they've got a real high number of kids in their program. So Elena came back with a lot of ideas that she kind of stole from down there, and it was really kind of fun. And when I sent it down to my niece, she was just excited as could be about, as a matter of fact, I had to send her a T-shirt down too, so. But a great day recognition for that special group of kids, and really kind of neat. Mock trial down in Columbus last weekend. First time down to the state, so they learned some things. They didn't advance at the state competition, but Mr. Kosovich came back even more determined than ever that we will advance next year. So quite honestly, this is the first time we had ever had a student, our mock trial team has ever advanced beyond the first round, let alone to the state. So they advanced 2 rounds. So next month, we're going to bring mock trial in. We're going to bring Model UN in, because we haven't had a chance to recognize Model UN yet either, and that's also one of Mr. Kosovich's undertakings, because both those groups knocked it out of the park. Just incredible what both groups did, and so we're going to take some time to recognize those students and for the amount of time that they put in their own time after school preparing for this, and then just really, it's just one of those things that separates us from other districts. It's just to come in the morning and to see all the kids all dressed up, and they coordinated their outfits. They all had pink ties on. It was really kind of neat, and I think they had very, very well done. Winter sports are wrapped up. Probably one of our most successful winter sports seasons in a long time. Both boys and girls basketball team were district runners up. We advanced swimmers to the district regional meet. We advanced wrestlers to the district meet. We advanced the boys bowling team to the regional meet, and that was a first time ever for them. So really coming off a really successful winter. Spring sports are underway. I think Mother Nature's teasing us a little bit, but I know last night they had a softball scrimmage out on the turf, and it's really great to just hear the bat and the kids out there track practice. I know Mr. Schaefer is very happy this time of year to be out getting some track practice in, so a little bit ahead there. DC trip returns tonight. They got off early on Monday morning, and They got some pitchers back there having a great time. We'll see how that works out. I'm sure it was fantastic. The kids, from what I understand, were having a great time with that. And Eclipse Day is coming up on April 8th. I'm going to sit in on a webinar with the emergency management of the county next Monday. Right now, we're scheduled for a half day, so it would be like finals week. So the high school get done at 12:30, and then elementary's done at about 1:20, thereabouts. The Eclipse is due to come in a little after 3, and that would normally be when our students would be on the bus. I've heard everything from there's going to be gridlock from here to Akron to everybody's overreacting. It's not going to be that crazy. So I want to hear what the emergency that Lorraine County last year, last spring, right after they approved all their school calendars, that they all kind of, the emergency management out there, because it's going right over Avon Lake, countywide, they closed the schools way back then. So my wife's at North Ridgeville, and she explained to everybody that I'm the Grinch, and I wasn't closing school for the day. But I also explained to people, we've been out, we've had some unusual days this year. We missed 2 days due to water main breaks. We missed a day to electric outage. So we've missed some instructional time that we normally wouldn't have missed. And it's not that I don't want to give everybody a day off, but instructional time is important to us. We've got classes that will go home with all the students that are here on that Monday. They've got bags together. They're going to get a bag home with their glasses. They've been receiving a ton of instruction on the Eclipse, doing a lot of science projects. Mrs. Curry talked about some of this morning. Really exciting what they've been doing. All the high school kids will be given a set of glasses, and we'll have some extra glasses. So once we know what that is, we'll allow people to come in here and pick up some glasses. We use grant money to buy it. I think we bought, Mr. Detrea got almost 2,000 sets of glasses. So everybody can do that in a safe manner. So we're looking for that day. I'm in full disclosure, when I heard schools were closing very quickly, I was disheartened, because as someone that basically taught science for many years, this is like one of the most teachable moments you might ever have. And I would think that we'd want to wrap instruction around this, and people were just so quick to say, we're just going to shut our doors for the day. And I thought, I know there's some inherent danger with this, and Mrs. Curry's been my advisor through this whole process, so she's updating me on some things, but we'll see what the emergency management for the county has to say next week. But as of right now, we've got half days scheduled for both those days. That's right prior to when we start state testing, so that's always been a very important week for us to get our kids into testing mode and start getting some things lined up. So I don't want to be the Grinch, but I'm sure that might be the nicest thing that I'm called between now and April 8th, so. With the understanding that parents always have the option of not sending their student that day. That we don't ever question that, so.
I look forward to your comments in the update following that
Yeah.
emergency management meeting. That'll be
Yeah.
interesting to hear if anything changes, what their take on it is. Anything else, Mr. Evans?
That was plenty.
Yeah, it was. Thank you. Thank you very much. And congratulations to all of our academic and sports teams. Great seasons. With that, I'm going to move on to agenda item number 14. And I don't know, Mr. Muccio, do you want to set this up, or should we just go ahead and move to a vote on this matter?
Sure, I can set it up. So ORC section 3313.23, if a treasurer of a Board of Education is absent from any meeting of the board meeting, board members present shall choose one of their own to serve in the treasurer's place pro tempore. So myself, I was going to be on vacation, Easter vacation, starting that day until April 1st, over the weekend, Good Friday. So I won't be here for the March 27th meeting. So it's up for, George Strauss, who's choosing.
Okay, well, with that background, thank you, Mr. Muccio. With that background, I will open the floor for a motion for one of our board members to serve as treasurer pro tem for that March 27th, 2024 Board of Education meeting. Are there any nominees?
Are there any volunteers?
Yeah,
I'd like to
volunteers.
nominate you, Mark.
Do I have to get the 5 straws out to see who's going to draw the shorts? Is that where this is coming to right now?
Yeah, well,
Could I nominate you, Mark?
of course you can.
I would like to nominate you, Mark Dobbins, to be our treasurer pro tem.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll be happy to second that.
So I think it's all baked in. Okay, so with that, then we'll have a
Baked in.
motion for me to serve as treasurer pro tem for that meeting. Is there a second?
Yeah, I said I'll second.
Second seconds. He's way ahead of me
On this one, yes.
in the curve. So with that, then let's move to a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Dobbins.
Can I vote? I think I can, yes. Aye.
Mr. Sajaki.
Aye.
Mrs. Decker.
Aye.
Mrs. Etter.
Aye.
Ms. Prowse.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. And I know I cannot hold a candle to your expertise, Mr. Muccio, but I'll do what I can. Make sure, take some minutes and get the motions done.
You're responsible for updating the plan report.
Wait a minute. Let's revisit
Yeah,
this.
notice we waited till after he volunteered for that.
Boy, Mr. Young.
Oh, my.
Wow, let's revisit that.
It's only 87 pages, Mr.
Yeah,
Dobbins.
well, I can do it in one. See treasurer's November forecast. Okay. So let's move on to agenda item 15. Board discussion and committee reports, comments. Does anyone have anything about to share?
Actually, I do have a few, if I can see this well enough. I thought I'd point out that this, the student connection for Cuyahoga Heights this month from the Career Center is Shy Moore. And the reason I want to point this out is it's a reminder to all of us that the Career Center is not just about hammers and nails and fixing cars and building parts, but Shy is an education student. She's part of that program and wants to go on into education. And again, to try to just remind ourselves that it's still college and career ready there too, as well as here. So that's one item. Negotiations are underway at the Career Center. I don't have anything to report on them other than that they're active, and they are talking about healthcare plans as well down there. I can also say that the Career Center is absolutely committed to staying in the consortium. They feel it is a better place to be. They feel that the districts that are leaving are being, well, I don't want to go into that too much, but there's some concern that there might be some short-sightedness in some of the parts of those districts looking at current possibilities versus what it could do to them in the future. And I think Mr. Muccio pointed out some of those risks earlier. So we are a little concerned that those districts are taking some risks. And of course, one of them is part of the Career Center, North Weldon. Let's see, we had a job fair this past week, which was very well attended by employers and students. The whole common area, if you're familiar with that, that's the one where we go into when you come into the main door and then go through that common area when you go to the restaurant. That was packed with tables, and they went out into the main hallway, and they went almost all the way to the school offices. They went almost every level, both sides of the main hallway. Very well attended, and heard lots of positive comments about that. And I spent some time there myself and enjoyed it quite a bit, talking with people and thanking them for being there, consoling those who had nobody on their list, and congratulating those who had several names on their list. And I think, if I can see my notes, that was all I had for the Career Center. I did have cataract surgery this morning. It was later than it was supposed to be, and the first day recovery is worse than it was the last time. I can see you. I know you're here. And it's not like my last meeting. I don't know that I mentioned to you my last meeting, but sitting here, and that very slight angle that our two administrators are on, did I mention this in the
There
last
were
meeting?
several of us.
You
Yeah,
saw
that there
it.
were 4 of them, yeah.
It's frightening.
But right now, there's only one of each of you, and I can recognize you without wearing glasses, so that's a good thing. So hopefully by the time our next meeting rolls around, I'll be in better condition. I won't have to ask Mr. Dobbins to both be the pro tem and conduct the meeting. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Jockey, and best wishes for speedy recovery.
Thank you.
Anything else you would like to share?
I'd just like to mention how saddened I was to hear about the passing of Deborah Petrunia. And the fact that she was literally the introduction to Cuyahoga Heights for us, with our son having her as his pre-K teacher. And she was always an amazing educator, so caring and knowledgeable, and really instilled, I think, the sense of lifelong learning at a very, very young age. And just wanted to say that she was very respected and admired for her dedication to this district, and she will be sorely missed.
Couldn't agree more, and she was my youngest child's 4-year-old teacher, and she was a great teacher, and like you said, an ambassador to knowledge, education to the district in so many ways. A wonderful person.
And I think one of the things about Deb is that she knew she had my ear because everything that Deb did put kids first. Our kids were always first for Deb. So that was important to me, and in her 30-plus years here, that was how she approached things. So, you know, I said she put her heart and soul into this district, and there's no one would ever deny that.
And I remember she made a presentation to the board one time with respect to all of the work that was required for her to certify and receive the outstanding ratings that she did. And it was largely a testament to the work that she put into it. Thank you, Dave.
And she was in the building like 3 and a half or 4 weeks ago, again, consulting on some of the stuff up to quality things where she was invaluable, and she knew that for me, that she could come anytime she wanted, and the door would be open for her because her advice was just always golden.
Thank you, Mr. Denner. Is there anything else anybody would like to share this evening? No? We're going to move to agenda item 16, which is future agenda items. I don't know that, I'm not aware of any. If anyone has anyone they'd like to offer, we can. If not, we'll move to 17A. It should be noted the Board of Education members received their agendas several days prior to the actual meeting. Thus, they've had considerable opportunity to study it, ask questions, etc. 17B, upcoming meetings. All will take place in the Bonneray Media Center, the PDR room where we're at this evening, unless otherwise posted. March 27th, 2024, a regular meeting at 7 p.m. Wednesday, April 10th, a work session at 6 p.m., and Wednesday, April 24th, a regular meeting at 7 p.m. And with that, I would make a motion to adjourn. May I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Decker seconds. There's no discussion. Let's move to roll call, please.
Mr. Dobbins?
Aye.
Mrs. Decker?
Aye.
Mrs. Etter?
Aye.
Ms. Rouse?
Aye.
Mr. Strachey?
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0 at 6:41 p.m. and we are adjourned.